Well, welcome back to classic Oldsmobile. As you can see, I'm off. Remember last time I made a video, that terrible brake video. I'm gonna make a slight, another terrible brake video. We're currently in the process of doing the front rotors. I already did the other side. I figured I'd bring you along at this point and show you a few things. At the moment I have the rotor off, the calipers chilling up there. The new old pads that you saw me just put on. And there's all my bearing and the pins. This is all stuff that needs to get cleaned up. Right here. So we got that. I'm going to be cleaning all that up. Did the oil change as well, but you've already seen that. I'm going to give these a try. I don't know how good they're going to be, but I figured I'd give it a shot. These are the PowerStop Evolution Sport. I think these are supposed to be like the daily driver kind of thing. Z70, Z23 carbon fiber ceramic. I don't know about all those weirdness, but it's a nice kit so far. Everything came in one big kit. It is a little pricey. This set me back about 300 bucks. But you get new sliders. The other one's in the box here. The O-rings that go in there, the little rubber seals. The clip for the back of the brake pad. The nice new pads. And then you get these babies. Right here, I got the cross drilled and slotted. Do I need that for this car? Absolutely not. 140 horsepower, but it's a heavy car and it has a tendency to want to warp the front rotors. So I'm hoping that with a good adjustment on the rear drums, which I gotta also go through this year too because they're way due for to be done, that these should help stop that from happening. Now I'm reusing the bearings. That's what's in here. I'm reusing these because I just put them on there. They're not all that old. They have maybe 10,000 at the most miles on them. I doubt that's even the case. I think I put these on, oh man, I wish I had a better record, but it was probably closer to 5,000 miles. And I don't know what the interval is on these, but they seem pretty good still. I checked the other ones, I cleaned them, and I re-greased them, repacked them. I'm going to do the same thing with this side here. I'm going to clean these all out, repack them, and then slide them in the new rotor. So that's pretty much where we're at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and see what we can accomplish. All right, so that's the part numbers on the pads here. Set those out of the way. And this would be one of the part numbers for the rotor here. They're heavy. The box itself weighed 50 pounds when it came in today. I'm stepping around my rotor over here. So yeah, these are the bearings here. And they seem pretty good still. They don't have a whole lot of play or anything in them. The original ones they took out of the car were honestly fine. I don't know how many miles were on the original ones because I don't know if they had ever been done before. Judging by the original rotors and how worn down they were, which they were also warped, I would imagine, and it kind of looked like there might have been a date code of 83 on the original rotors, so I'm thinking maybe those were the original rotors to this car, being that I did this probably at around 65,000 miles, I think, maybe a little lower, the first time, and I bought it with 54, so there's a good chance that maybe these are original. But we're gonna go ahead and get some paper towel here, shop towel, brake clean. See my ugliness, and we're just going to go ahead and start cleaning these up a little bit. Try to get some of that old grease out of them. Is this necessary? Probably not. Will I hope that it'll prolong their lives? Yeah. Will it? Who knows? This car, I switched the antique plates back in 2020 on this car, because it doesn't get driven nearly as much as it used to. And its mileage recorded then was 67 or 68,000, I believe. It's been about 3,500 miles since 2020, the last time that it was inspected. And it's 2023 now, so the car doesn't see a whole lot of driving anymore. Having a newer car, it's nice to be able to just get in that new car and drive, and when you pay for a new car, you're going to use your new car because you're paying to use that car, where I own this car and, you know, own this car. And I should make a video on the Kia soon, the 2021 Kia K5. It's coming up on 3 years now that I've had it. Not a bad car, but there has been some developments that have happened over the last year. One in which the horn doesn't work. Yeah, that's fun. So that died on it, and no idea why. Still got to get that fixed. Whatever. I should give you an update on those tires that I put on it, those Nexans. I had to make a stop. I paused in the middle of this job because I had to go and get hub grease, because apparently we were out, which I'm pretty sure I bought that last one, or got that last one, for the last big brake job I did on this. And I don't know where else it would have gone, because it doesn't get used for anything but this, really. So, I don't know. I guess it was this. I don't think I used a whole tub in it last time, but I have added to the grease, take the cap off and put some in the cap and kind of squeeze it in just to keep them well lubed. Hopefully I have enough in the driver's side. But yeah, this is pretty much what I did on the other side, is just kind of clean them up, inspect them. I got new seals too, which I'm not all that happy with the seals. I'm trying to remember the National brand, which I thought was a decent brand, but apparently not. I'm not very happy with the quality of these seals and compared to the ones I'm taking out. But what are you gonna do? I'm already in it. These are Timken bearings too. I don't know if you can see that. So should be a pretty good bearing. I don't typically spare too many expenses when it comes to this car. I'm sure this is boring or therapeutic, me just sitting here talking. Maybe one day I'll get big on the YouTube. I don't know if anybody even likes watching me or not, but I'm hopefully going to be bringing a new video, hopefully eventually here, of a new project vehicle. It's not my project vehicle, but it is my project vehicle. My friend, a longtime friend of mine, recently made a purchase. He's actually the previous owner of this vehicle, and he liked classic cars, but this really wasn't his style, which is part of the reason why it sat, and then I ended up with it. And not to get too much into his personal life, but he has a deep connection to Chevy and GMC Suburbans from the late 80s into the 90s, because that's what his family always had. And he recently got a 89 Chevrolet Suburban. Really nice. I kind of want to make a video of it just to try to get some of the internet's opinions. The vehicle came out of Michigan, It spent its whole life in Michigan. Troy, Michigan, I believe it was. And for a vehicle that came out of Michigan, we were kind of hesitant because he was searching. There was a lot of web searching that went on leading up to the purchase of this vehicle. Trying to find one that was in nice enough shape for a decent amount, because when they're in really nice shape, these things go for good money, and it's silly. It's silly how expensive these Suburbans have gotten. And so we found this one in Michigan on Facebook, actually, and it had a lot of nice pictures, and the undercarriage looked really clean on it. I mean, it's not perfect. It's a 30-some-year-old vehicle that did get driven at one point and saw weather, and it's been repainted at some point. It looks like an older repaint, but supposedly the ad and the guy that bought it wasn't the original owner, the guy he bought it from. He bought it with the intention of selling it, unfortunately, so we lost some of the history there. But it might not have ever ended up in our radar if that wouldn't have happened. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. And that being said, it was sold with saying that it has 127,000, and in '89 they didn't switch over to the 100,000 mile odometers until I think 90 or 91. So it doesn't reflect if it's 100,000 and 27,000, 127,000. I know there's very little chance that it's 227,000. Judging by the overall condition. There's no Carfax reports of mileage through the entire ownership of the vehicle. It spent its whole life in that small little town, and I honestly, other than a little bit of wear on the brake pedal, would ponder to think that it could be 27,000 for the pure fact that there's like no oil leaks on this vehicle. It's a Chevy 350 with the TBI throttle body injection, and like it is clean. No oil leaks. I did the oil change in it the other day, and it runs like a top. Very, very impressed with it. Has a very minor rust on the rear behind the the rear wheels, where they all rust out. Has a little bit in the tailgate around the rear window seals, and a little bit on the back quarter around the window seal. But and it looks like there was some body work done on the back, like maybe they did maybe the back tailgate, the barn doors got dented because there's Bondo in the rear door. But I mean, it's 34 years old. You're gonna have that kind of stuff. I don't know how much of this you've seen. This might be a really bad video. But I don't know. That's why I kind of want to make a video on it. I took it out for him yesterday to get new tires, because they were really old tires. And they weren't very round anymore. And also he got it inspected, a PA inspection on it, because it didn't have one. So he's supposed to come over today. He was gonna watch this, but he's at work, so we're gonna have to do all this on his, I'm sure. At the very least, I want to go through everything on it. He's not, he's a car guy, but he's not a car guy. He's a wannabe car guy. He likes old stuff, but he's not all that educated on old stuff. And I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, but I've grown up around 90s General Motors vehicles, and 80s General Motors vehicle. We even had a 72 Grand Prix, so I'm pretty familiar with them. This was my first, 80s car here that I personally owned. But my first car was that 90 Grand Prix that was on the channel. and that thing was always breaking down. So I learned everything myself. I'm self-taught, YouTube certified mechanic, as they would say. So I'd say that's pretty good. They feel pretty good. I'm a big fan of this metal dish, so I'm keeping them in, but yeah, okay. Alright, so we got the Brougham high temp disc brake bearing grease. I don't know if that's a downgrade or an upgrade over the Super Tech. But basically the idea is you get a glob of it right there in your hand. And you take the bearing and you just start spinning it and dipping in. And like I said, don't take this as how to. I'm not an expert. But I'm just kind of use this as entertainment. And then just keep what you want to see is it start coming out through the bearing like that. Don't be afraid. Pack her up good. That weird color. The other stuff is a darker. And just keep. Now they sell packing things to do this, but they cost money. And if I can do it this way, the few times that I ever have to do this on this car, I'm fine with it. Maybe I'll get one. I don't know. They're expensive at Advance, so I was thinking about maybe getting one on Amazon. Write down in the comments what you think. Do you think the Packers are better than the old method of just palm? The old palm method. Some ASMR. Beautiful day today. Is it really a dumb idea if it works? That's what Script Garage would say. So I'm just spinning the bearing here in my hand, working it in. And then just and what you're doing is you're forcing the grease up through into the bearing. See? Because there's an opening back here, and when you're digging it into your hand, it's forcing it up into that area there. See how it fills that gap? And as you keep going, it's forcing more and more up, and it's got nowhere to go but up into the bearing. This was probably somewhat of a standard procedure back in the day. Very, very crude. Very crude setup, but that's how it's done. Well, kind of, in quotes. Because I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy with spare time to sit and play with his 1980s car. And I'm just cleaning up my hand with it. A little extra ain't gonna hurt nobody. I'm gonna sit it inside that cup, because you don't want dirt. Dirt is not your friend when it comes to this, and it's something I failed to do in this situation. Is I should have got the rotor out first and packed it up, because we want to get in that with the bearing. I'm just going to clean up my hand here real quick, because that's the inner bearing that I was just doing. This is the outer bearing that's still here in the dish. It's going to be a long video. Now, I'm going to get hub grease on it, that's fine, because hopefully you're seeing some of this. Yeah, you should be able to see. These come oiled, bee flying overhead. These come with that oil on here to protect them from flash rusting in shipment. So I am just cleaning all of that schmutz out of there. Oh, another can of brake clean down. Let that dry up for a second here. I don't want all that blue junk in there. You're gonna take a big old glob and you're just gonna pack it in this hole, because this is, you want a lot of grease in here. You don't want to go easy on the grease on this, because you want to make sure that these bearings stay lubricated. Because if they lose their lubrication, then they're going to burn up, and you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. Alright, tapered bearing. See how it goes down like this? There's a seat down in there, and it just sits down in and mates. Get a little turn, and then pack a little bit more grease in and behind it, because like I said, in my opinion, you can't have too much, because all it's going to do is keep it constantly in the bearing if there's too much. Helps with dissipating the heat. It keeps it packed tight. There. Now we're going to get our seal. This is 8871 National Oil Seal. I don't think I'll ever get these again. I'm not a fan. They feel cheap. Hopefully they hold up. And I always put a little bit of the grease on this seal, because this seal is going to be riding on the hub, or on the spindle, I should say. I'm going to put a little bit around the outside, because this is also going to help keep water ingress and dirt ingress out of it, because you don't want that. And then it's going to get tapped in to the back of the rotor. I'm going to clean my hands off. Find my mallet. Because you don't want this seal getting messed up, just like it's kind of doing right now. You should use the old seal to pound it in. Make sure it is flush against the rotor. Yep. Now, like I said, you really should have something to press it in. That's probably not proper what I did there, but I think we'll be fine given the situation. Okay. Like I said, I'm not too concerned about getting anything on the rotor at like the surface right now, because it is covered in that pre-grease. But as you can see, I tapped the seal in there, that bearing is in there, and there's lots of oil. So basically, at this point, it's going to be going back to this bearing here and doing the same thing. So you're going to get some grease in your palm, and you're just going to start biting into it. You'll see it just kind of eats it up. Mention, I'd highly recommend wearing gloves. Try to spin it, work that grease through it. That pushing it in and push it through. If your palms aren't rare and all worn after this, you should feel a little raw after this. You want to make sure you're pushing that grease in That should be good, as it's up through the top here too now. You can see it's coming up through there. Alright, I'm going to sit that in the cap too. Make sure we work it in good. And I'm going to sit it back in the cap that's right here. Clean up. And then we're going to move down to the spindle and get that cleaned and get it prepped for the new rotor. Okay, back here, so there's the spindle that we want to clean up, and that's all going to slide on. That rear race runs along there, so we want to get this nice and clean so we can just slide the new bearing and rotor on. There's not much to see here, just clean. Alright, so we're back down here again. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide this up onto here, and you're going to seat that seal up onto this ring back here, which you see I lubed all that up. You want to have grease on there that helps seal out the moisture and give that new ring something to ride on. You want to be careful because that new bearing is there. You should feel it just kind of, there you go. Hear a little bit of a pop, and that's good. We're going to go ahead and pack some more grease. We're going to slide that back on there. Alright, so that's the outer bearing, and the inner bearing is up on that race. Give it a little push. Like that. And you're going to put, there's a cutout, a keyway on here. You're going to line up that keyway on here. Like that. That. And you're going to take the locking castle nut. And you're going to slide that, screw that on. So you're going to tighten that down. Now the YouTube mechanic in me was taught this is how to do it. There's a lot of other better videos out there. I don't know if Ice Grip Garage, I think they have a video, I would assume, of this. But I know Junkyard Digs, he does a lot of videos on brakes, and he's got quite a few. That's actually where I've learned some of my tips and tricks in doing this job from, is watching some of his videos. So I'm going to clean the tool off so I don't slide off it the entire time. So you're going to want to spin it on there, like that. Alright, a pair of these boys. You're going to tighten it down all the way to make sure it's nice and seated. Spinning it, and you're going to back it off just a little. You don't want to over tighten it, just to the point that it lines up with the cotter keyhole, which I am trying to establish where that's at on this. I think it's right there. So you don't want this too tight, you just want a little bit of friction. Too tight, and you're going to destroy those bearings. So there should be, yeah, that should be good. Nice and fluid feeling, like in honey. Spin that around, and then you just slide the cotter key through. Cotter pin, whatever you want to call it. This one's actually pretty cut up. I probably should get a new one. You really should get new ones. Clean this tool. Let me try going through this way. See how it's pretty bent up. Slide that through. Yeah, this one's too bent. I'm gonna see if I can find a new one. There you go. There we go. And we'll bend this one over too. There we go. So now it is locked in place. Should be able to spin nice and free. We're gonna go ahead and pack this, and I just fill that up. Helps once again with keeping the moisture out. And get that mallet. It's a messy job, I ain't gonna lie to you. Till it seats, and then clean up the extra. That's still nice and clean, so I'm just gonna put it back in. There we go. Got a few more taps just for good measure. And there you go. That is back together. I'm just compressing the caliper up here, up above you. I don't know if you see that. The old pad that I took out. See, these are still like brand new. These are the ones I put on it last year, the silvers, just to get it through the rest of the year. So in this box are these guys here, new O-rings and sliders. The other one's in the box somewhere. There it is. In that dish now. So what we're gonna do now, hoping that you can see something to what's going on here, probably not, is these are little sliders that go into rubber. There's those little rubber rings that are right here, and those are supposed to move freely, kind of like this one is, because I just did these, to allow the caliper to slide back and forth when applying and removing the brakes. So these ones are, that top one's stuck, so that would be the noise that I was hearing. So how I typically do this is we're going to bring the caliper down here, set it right there. It's gonna be probably hard to show you one-handed. Is I take a flat blade screwdriver and I shove it in from this side, and let me see if I can get this into view. Hopefully you can see it, and it pushes it out and it slides right out the back. That's how I get these out. And I do the same on this side. And then you have these two old sliders. They're probably still fine. Let me see. It's really hard to tell what you can see and can't see. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this pick, and there's little O-rings down in here and in here, and I'm just going to pick those out. So we're gonna sit you back down. And we're gonna pick the front O-rings out. See there? These ones I think I've replaced before, but they definitely aren't as old as the other side were, for the fact that I don't think I've ever done the other side. And the other side's the original caliper, and this one has been replaced. Okay. It's real easy, just push the pick down in the hole and pull out the little O-rings. Then I clean out the holes. I'm going to be cleaning the rotor again, so it'll be fine. Get that out of your way. And then I just clean them up. Clean all the old grease off of them. slide that in there. Clean these nice. You can take the pick and easily go in and just go through the groove where that little gasket O-ring or little rubber seal sits, and make sure that there's no big debris in there. You don't want to be in there gouging, but just kind of clean out any schmutz that's in there. That's what I'm doing now, just going through. And the other side had a lot more in it because, like I said, that's the original caliper. This side's definitely got a little bit in it. And just clean out the track that it sits in, because you want those to be nice and seated. You don't want them bunching up or anything. Clean the front of this one out a little bit, 'cause there's definitely some goo on the outside of this one. There we go. And then we just go back in with the brake clean again. Clean out all the mess that you left behind. Now the disassembly is easy. It's just a reverse of what we're doing now in a way. You just pop that cap off the center here, pull out the cotter pin, pair of side cutters like this work great for pulling those out. Now once they're out, you then can just break loose the 2 slide pins. Caliper pulls off, set it up somewhere so it's not dangling from the hose, back that nut out, and then just pull the rotor off of the seat. So not bad, not bad at all. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab what I didn't bring over. I question if any of this video will ever see the light of day. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of editing involved. Alright. And I take a little bit of Ultra Brake Parts lubricant. I just put a little bit in there, and a little bit in there. Stuff's supposed to be safe for the hardware and such. A little bit in there. My hopes is it will stop corrosion and will assist with the installation of the new seal. Which we're gonna go ahead and get those out now. New sliders. And there's that seal. I'm gonna dab a little bit on that. Hopes it will help with the installation. And then they just slide right up in there. And then make sure that it seats. I use my finger because it's about the same length, or about the same, what is that, circumference? I don't know. Either way, it fits in the hole. We're going with that, right? All right, there's a joke to be made there. You want to make sure that it's not twisted up or bound up. You want to make sure that, because this is a flat seal, that it sits in there just like I'm holding it in my hand. Because if it doesn't, then it's going to hang up. And if it hangs up, you're going to burn one brake pad unevenly, you're going to get brake noise. It's just not a good time. Alright, so that one, see, this side is definitely a lot easier to work with. It's part of the reason why I saved this video for doing this side, because this side is the newer side. Honestly, I should have gotten the caliper kit. It wasn't that much more, but you know. I'm going to be on vacation at the end of the month. I don't know if I'm going to make a video on any of it, but I want to do the rubber hoses. I have them. The rubber hoses on the front and the one in the rear. And I hope maybe if the old billfold, the old wallet will permit, I can get the rear drums. And I'm just using the pick. You don't want to pick the seal or gouge the seal, but I'm just using it to run around it to make sure that it's seated. There. And to push it into place. And that's all I'm doing, is just putting the edge of the hook in and spinning it around inside the circle, making sure that it's seated all the way around and it's not bunched up. Alright, at this point, it's pretty much just slapping the pads and put the caliper on. I'm going to clean these guys up. These are the sliding pins and what attaches it. I cleaned these the last time, but man, they definitely got gunked up again. This is a one can job so far. Okay, and then I always put a little bit of brake stuff on here on these sliders, which I'll do that when I go to install them. Just gonna clean them so that when I go to install it, we're good. Get all that old grease off of there. You want it to slide freely in there. Okay. Honestly, at this point, I'm probably going to end the video because you've already seen the caliper removal and installation, or at least parts of that, in my terrible brake video I did before. So to save me some time, I'm going to quit recording and put the new caliper on. But this is something new. Figured I'd show this part. Like I said, don't take what I say to heart. I am not a mechanic. I'm not a certified mechanic. I'm not an expert. I'm a YouTube certified mechanic. And this is just a hobby, but I figure if anything from this video, it's educational, more so I should say entertainment purposes, more so than anything. I'll let you know how these PowerStops do on here, and we'll go from there, and I'll probably see you next time. Thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoyed some of this, and have a good day.